nonprofit in Oklahoma City. We focus on food, energy, and water. Most people know us for our school garden program, where we're really trying to figure out how to give outlets to schools and teachers, turn school gardens into an economic asset for the school. A lot of times teachers build a garden, it's exciting and new, and then it becomes harder and harder to maintain. It becomes a bit of a side project more than something that can really provide for the classrooms. And in Oklahoma's education system, we have a lot of budget issues. So that became a big goal of ours. I am also the chief operations officer for From Seed to Spoon, which is a garden app that is available all over the world. We have about 400,000 users, and it was created by a couple here in Oklahoma that were having their second child. The father was slightly overweight, and he wanted something that could simply guide him and his family to use a garden in their daily life to address health ailments, but also be very simple to use for their kids. So they designed this from scratch, and it's blown up, wildly successful in the last several years. And so my goal, really individually, from a kid, was always to save animals and nature. But as I got older, it became very clear that we all have to pay the bills. We all have to feed our families. We all use energy. And in our daily lives getting so fast paced, what we have to do is really figure out how to slow down and give those communities and those families new opportunities to use their resources sustainably if we're going to really protect those ecosystems or those areas. So my goal is really to empower people to take the resources we use in our daily lives and really utilize them in a way that's more optimal and economic, but also allows us to protect the natural world that we love.
And terrific. I think there's so many SDGs that both your companies cover. So I really admire the work that you guys do. We also were able to provide a very small grant to their organization that I don't know if you use for a community garden or something of that nature. But Andrew and I have known each other for a long time, and I've seen the work that he does. So it's very inspiring. So if anybody is interested in sustainability, Andrew's the guy. You can talk to him and see if you have a project that you're interested in. You could talk to him and you could collaborate with him on one of the projects. Now, right there, I have a thought that Ms. Xavier, I think you will like too, that what we could do over the next 7 weeks, you will be listening to people like, different personalities from around the globe, not from me or from Mrs. Xavier or from Miss Anderton. You'll be listening to speakers. So to fit you guys in, because you guys are also a wealth of expertise and knowledge that you can share with your peers. So what we can do is every other Saturday when we meet, we can give you guys 5 to 10 minutes to do a presentation about your work, or if you want to do something about your culture, like just enrich us about your country. You could do a 10-minute presentation about Peru, like Dr. Gustavo, he's from Peru. He can talk to us about how they're handling COVID-19 in Peru. So a 10-minute thing where Andrew could just speak to everybody about, hey, how do you think you could get involved with the app that he just mentioned that has over 400,000 users, that you could get another 20, 25 users right here in your class. So we'll reach out to you guys, but please reach out to us as well. So over the next 7 Saturdays, we have not finalized the speakers. I have just reached out to 5 or 6 people, and they're very incredible speakers. But I want suggestions from you guys. Like, hey, Akash, I would like to learn from somebody who's working in human rights or somebody in sustainability. If you know of certain people that you think would be great for this, just send us names or send us suggestions. Send us an email, send us a private email, and we'll go ahead and reach out, because over the next 7 Saturdays, we want to plan the best of the people to come out and speak to you guys. So please send us suggestions. If there are certain people, certain things that you want to listen to or hear, let us know. We'll try our level best to get those people. But so far, I know the confirmed speakers are so incredibly inspiring. Like, you have a chief of a UN agency who's going to speak to you. You have a Catholic nun who is a CNN hero, and Time Magazine's 100 Most Influential People, who takes child soldiers in Africa and rehabilitates them. So she'll be speaking to you guys. We have a doctor from Guatemala who also works with the United Nations and works with the government of Colombia, and has inter-country collaborations, another great project that you could get involved with. And someday when the airports open, you can go to his country. So those are just a few examples of people that you will be speaking to over the next few weeks. But if you know of more people or areas where you want people to address certain issues, please email us, okay? So next we have Miguel. Hola, Miguel.
Hello everyone, hola. I am Miguel. I am from Oklahoma City. I'm a current student at the University of Oklahoma. I'm studying architectural engineering. Um, I've done research these past semesters, and the research I've done involves geotechnical engineering, so bridges and soil mechanics, basically dirt. I think something that I want to do in the future is work with sustainable building design. So making sure like the air conditioning, mechanical systems, the electrical systems are just like ran more efficiently. This is a fun fact that like I came across like just doing research, but like humans spend like 80% of their time in buildings. So I think that's like really important to like us engineers need to ensure that like they're green and they're not like compromising the next generation's resources. So that's something I'm interested in the future. But that's it about myself.
I see a connection there, right, with you and Andrew as well, or others in the group. So I hope you can connect. And Miguel, so look forward to learning from somebody like you too. You have quite a bit of expertise in your field that I hope we can use and align to certain of our sustainable development goals. So next I see Marty. Marty? Marty, ¿me escuchas? Marty, if you come back in a few minutes, we'll go to Renita. Renita?
¿Ustedes me escuchan?
Sí, te escuchamos. Sí, claro, Marty, si vos quiere hablar. No, Marty, ya no. Te podemos ver, pero no te escuchamos.
¿Ahorita me escuchan?
Sí, sí, sí.
Mira, estoy con mi computadora y mi teléfono, porque algo le pasó a mi computadora. So, por eso estoy así. Pero mi nombre es, por supuesto, es Marty Rickman. I'm from Colombia. I'm number 11 of 14 kids. First of all, thank you, Akash, for this opportunity. I love your mission. I love what you do, and I admire you. Of course, my dear friend Hilda, that is part of it, and she's always things like what she does. It's incredible, and I really wanted to be part of this for a long time. And thank you for the opportunity. When I was a little girl, I was, since, of course, 14 kids, we didn't have very much money. So always my dreams were like, you know, I'm a dancer. I have a shop called Clips and Hips. So I do hair and I also teach dance. But through dance, I teach my culture and I love to share. And I love the fact that we can be together as one through dance. And that's what I love, diversity. But when I was a little girl, we didn't have the money for dance. Was in Colombia was a luxury. So it was hard for us to go to a dance studio because we didn't have it. But I always had this dream, and of course, I guess that's why I came to United States to like all the American dream that we always talk about. And as a Colombian, I know I feel like I'm living it now, and I know it's hard times, but I'm grateful. I appreciate everything in my life and all the friends and people like you and this screen. I love the fact that all these people, we look, you know, different, and I like that. But anyway, I always thought that I wanted to help some kids through dance somehow. But recently, of course, with your help, Akash, thank you. We started Raíces Sin Fronteras, Roots Without Borders Foundation. So it's a nonprofit organization that we did in 2018, and which serves to provide children in Central and South America with tools to escape poverty. So it's our mission is to spread the culture, art, dance, and tradition across the United States. So it's a little bit of what we do, but thank you. I'm excited. I'm here and being part of this. And I'm surprised. I was glad to see Jima. Hi, Jima. And Hilda. I think it's a good. I think we are going to be a good team. Us, all of us. I love it. Thank you.
Thank you, Marty. And Marty is truly a leader that we all admire in our local community and also internationally for the work that she does now with Raíces Sin Fronteras, is a nonprofit organization that she started. So Marty, thank you so much for being a part of this. And next it was Renita.
Hi, everyone. I'm actually so excited to be here. And I really want to thank Hilda for letting me know about this opportunity. And thank you, Akash. Thank you, everyone. I'm excited to learn from everyone. And just this whole platform is just so beautiful. Lovely people over here. I'm an artist. I did my degree in dance, and right now I'm doing my MFA master's at the University of Oklahoma in dance. So I think for me, I like Marty just mentioned, dance often is a luxury for most people, and also within United States itself. So I feel I want to make it more accessible to all, and just want to get some ideas. Also, some you mentioned about reaching remote places, and that is one of the objective that I had in mind. So I think this is great. Good things are going to come this way. So yeah.
I love the artists here, you know, from painting and drawing to just dancing. How can you build a lot of children's mental health during this pandemic? So just a 10-minute dance in front of a Zoom classroom in Argentina or Colombia or India or any other part of the globe, you're lifting spirits up of children. So what a beautiful job that you guys are doing. So thank you so much, Renita, Jilma, Melody, Marty, the artists in this room, Jonathan, who also is also an artist of his own kind. So thank you for the work that you do. And I'm excited to see how your projects will impact our community. So next we have Juan Pablo, also from Colombia.
Hello guys, can you hear me? So my name is Juan Pablo. I'm 23 years old. I'm from Medellin, Colombia. I just finished college 1 month ago, so I'm very excited as a biomedical engineer. También, como Hilda dijo, me gustaría que conocieran acerca de nuestra cultura en Colombia, especialmente en Medellín, ya que fue una de las ciudades más peligrosas en el mundo, pero ahora mismo ha cambiado totalmente en términos de cultura, arte, música y también mucha gente amable. So I'm very excited to be here and want to thank Akash for inviting me to this program and see what we are going to do soon.
And I just want to interpret the center part that he spoke in Spanish. So I want to interpret it for everybody so you can understand what he said. He said that Medellin, the city that he's from in Colombia, which is one of the second or third largest city in Colombia. Am I right? After Bogota? It might be second, third. Yes. So Medellin is infamously known for Pablo Escobar. And that's why he said that the city was supposedly one of the most dangerous cities in the world. But it has totally changed. And I have to second what he said, because I've been to Colombia on a couple occasions. I went to Medellin, I went to Bogota, and I never, not for once, did I feel unsafe in the country. So things have significantly changed. I'm sure, I don't know who the credit goes to, but it's no longer anywhere close to one of the most dangerous cities. I've been to even more dangerous cities, maybe in Africa or in Central America, but Colombia is by far, I think Marty will agree, Juan Pablo will agree, that one of the safest countries now in Latin America that tourists can go to. So thank you, Juan. We hope to use your expertise in biomedical engineering. And am I right that you also worked with wildlife through your internship at the zoo in Medellin?
Yes, yeah. I'm working at the zoo and I'm having Chinese lessons right now too.
So yes, he does speak Chinese. He's been taking Chinese lessons since the beginning of the pandemic. So anybody want any Chinese lessons, talk to Juan. All right. Or if we have a Chinese speaker, Juan, we're going to get you to interpret for us. I'm not sure.
I can't wait.
All right, awesome. Next, I see Mrs. Xavier, our own Mrs. Xavier. Mrs. Xavier, you want to unmute yourself and tell everybody hello and a little bit about yourself?
Okay. Well, thank you for this opportunity again, Akash. I'm from, can you hear me? Yes. Okay, I'm from Guatemala. I've been living here for, I think, 28 years. And I love to share my story. I was undocumented for probably 25 years. I went back to Guatemala since I've been there 2 years ago after 28 years. I have a daughter and a baby. He's 9 months. My husband is from India. That's why I love to be part of Happy World Foundation, because I love people from other countries. Especially now with the, I know we shouldn't be talking about politics, but this last...
Absolutely, you can talk about politics. Don't feel free. I mean, this is a safe room for you to speak about anything that makes people uncomfortable. So it's okay for you to talk. Sorry to interrupt you there.
Oh, that's okay. So for these past 4 years, I see so many negative comments, a lot of races. So I love to be part of different organizations like Happy World Foundation. I'm part of the Asian Society of Oklahoma. I help there. So I'm involved in a lot in the community, not only Hispanic community, but other organizations. We have to teach everybody that everybody is the same. So that's why I'm part of this group. And also I'm friends with Jima. She's my babysitter for my son. I love her. She's representing Ecuador muy bien. With Marty, I think we've known each other for 20 years. I can't remember, but I was part of her dance group. We both will represent our countries in Oklahoma. We've been part of we've been part in the community for many years. So I'm very happy to be here, and I'm gonna be learning from all of you. And Akash, if you could do a group for all of us, so we can get to know a little bit of each other. We can share what we're doing in the community. And I'm taking the class because I want to get certified from this class. So I'm excited to be here, and I'm excited to see who's gonna be in my group.
Awesome. I think based on common consensus, if you guys want to go ahead and put something in your chat, if you were to be a part of a group, would you like for it to be a Facebook group, a WhatsApp group? What kind of group do you want to see? Because again, we want to make sure that we honor what you want to be a part of, but you also have access to everybody's email through the group email that I sent. So just make sure that don't respond to the whole group email every time, because then it will end up sending the message to everybody. It's okay for the first time. I mean, I understand you all are very excited. So just make sure that in the future, you use channels like their emails to contact them. And then if I have your permission, then we can maybe create a Facebook group, or we can create a WhatsApp group. So Facebook, I can just create like a group, a private group, not a messaging group. So the group will end up like, you will all become members of that group, and you would simply be posting things in there that your friends need to know. I like that idea, Mrs. Xavier. I think, and somebody says, Alina says WhatsApp may work. So we'll have a discussion about that, because I know we're running short of time. The folks from Brazil will be coming very soon in the next 5, 10, 15 minutes. And we still have Gustavo, Sunil, Shreya, Otto, Jerry, and Edith to introduce. So we'll just keep going. Please take your time. Don't worry, because once the Brazilian guys come in, then we will have them talk. They may not talk for more than 20, 30 minutes, but they're very interesting. So you may end up talking to them for 40 or 50 minutes. So I want to respect their time. And if we don't get to the introductions for everybody today, please make sure, I will make sure that you're introduced in the 2 Saturdays from today. But I'm going to try to make sure that your introduction is done by the end of the class today. But I think this is a good time for us to take that picture. So, because I know Gustavo seems to be ready. Dr. Gustavo seems to be ready. So can we take a picture? If I have a consensus, let's see, who do we not have in the picture? I have Marty, Edith is here. Shreya, if you can turn your video on, and Jonathan and Miguel. Unless they're taking their break. Jonathan, Miguel, Shreya, Jonathan and Miguel, I'm just waiting for them to turn their cameras on so we can take a picture. Jonathan, Miguel. Miguel is the only one left. I don't have his number, but just keep your video on. He should be on in just a couple minutes until the next person introduces themselves. So just keep your video on, please, for the next 2-3 minutes. You can turn it off later, okay? I want to make sure Miguel is on before we get started. So next, we're going to introduce Dr. Gustavo, who's from Peru. So Gustavo, you can go ahead. Meanwhile, if Miguel joins, then we're going to take a picture, okay?
My name is Gustavo, Gustavo Urbano. I'm from Peru. I work as a doctor. I have recently graduated like 2 years ago. And since my social working experience started during my university, I formed part of the sexual committee in my university. I work against AIDS. I work against gender prejudices, also homophobia, transphobia. Then I stopped doing like social working, and I focused more on my studies. But during my rural service year, I started working with there is like we do here like a 1-year rural service, and we work on the highlands of Peru. In there, we usually go to small towns that are that are located in the lowest poverty status here in Peru. So I worked there for 1 year. Sometimes I give classes to the kids about, I don't know, biology or English. And now I'm here. I'm here during almost 1 year. I have been helping Akash giving some speeches to kids around the world. And I'm so happy to do that. And I hope this chance will get me back to the social working that I want to form part again from. So that is me. So
and Gustavo, we're so happy to also have a doctor. We now have a doctor on here. I know we have a couple of engineers, artists. We have different professions represented. So it's so cool to have a doctor on here. So we can do some telemedicine. If somebody has something, be like, hey, Gustavo, somebody's having a seizure there. Can you do a telemedicine? So, well, Gustavo, thank you so much for the work that you do. Very
Okay.
inspired by your rural service, especially in parts of the world, in the highlands of Peru, where doctors and healthcare workers have no access to sometimes even drinking water, like portable drinking
Like
water.
clean water, yes.
Exactly, clean water. So the work that you did for a year, I don't know how I could have done that or even stayed in that part of the world, but it's commendable. So thank you to all our healthcare workers who are making such a huge impact right now. So I just want to make sure, Miguel, if you're on, Miguel, if you can turn your video on, and Gonzalo, if you can turn your video on so we can really quickly take this picture so the others can turn their camera off and continue to be tuned in and listen to us. Miguel's here. Yay. Let me see if I can get to Gonzalo and ask Gonzalo if he can. I have his WhatsApp, so I can get Gonzalo to turn his video on. So meanwhile, while he turns his video on, Jerry, can you introduce yourself, please?
Yes. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, Jerry.
Okay, excellent. So my name is Jerry Gramajo. I am residing in the state of Oklahoma, in the capital of Oklahoma. I am from Guatemala, Chapin, from the bottom of my heart, I guess everywhere. I'm excited to be a part of this program for the main reason that I am a huge believer in intersectionality. I feel that being a part of a community in Oklahoma City where, can you guys still hear me right? Okay. In Oklahoma City, you know, as Akash mentioned, we are multicultural, although we do hide under a state where people think that white supremacy is where we need to be at and all that good stuff. So being in Oklahoma City has given me the opportunity to feel that I need to kind of communicate with other people of different backgrounds to be able to basically prosper the Hispanic community in Oklahoma City. But in reality, for me, I feel like everywhere that I go, I do spread the word about my culture in Guatemala, what I've lived through, my experiences. And so being a global ambassador, I feel like would be an awesome opportunity just because of the fact that I haven't started in per se any main projects or anything like that. I have helped other people organize some stuff, but I do kind of feel like volunteerism is what helps the community out, and being able to kind of just talk about volunteering and being able to kind of just talk about my experiences kind of helps me out with growing. So yeah, that's about it. So I'm grateful for being in this space.
Hey, Jerry, so excited to have you and to address these issues of intersectionality that nobody is a better expert than folks like you who are so passionate about it. So, Jerry, we have our guests who are just joining in. So I want to pause there. I know I still want to introduce Shreya, Edith, Sunil, Otto, and Jonathan. But before we do that, we're going to quickly take our picture that, you know, we were going to take because Gonzalo's on here. So we can really quickly get into this picture. So everybody, at the count of 3, we are going to take a picture. And Daniel and Dara, you can be a part of our picture, part of our family. All right, here we go. 3, 2, and we'll take one more. You can do something funky this time if you like. So I don't know what funky means these days, but you can do something funky. Ready? 3, 2, and perfect. Thank you. All right. So again, Jerry, thank you so much for introducing yourself. We're so looking forward to working with you. Right now, I want to honor our speakers' times. Today, you have very inspiring speakers joining us all the way from Brazil. And I will introduce this young man, this young charismatic man who is leading a movement, a youth movement in his country and internationally. So very inspiring. I thought nobody else could start us off than Daniel for this morning because he has a very inspiring story. Daniel is the founder of the International Youth Watch. So I sent you a little bit of information in the email this morning before we started our institute class, is that Daniel is the founder of the International Youth Watch. He spent just very recently a few months studying at the Columbia University Law School, and he will be telling us a little bit more about the International Youth Watch, his collaboration with the other young leaders who are joining him. Daniel, am I right that you'll be joined by Adara, and is there somebody else who's going to be joining you, Daniel?
Good morning, Akash. Thank you so much for your kind introduction. Yes, I hope Beatrice can join us, but probably she's having connection problems.
No problem.
But,
and
yeah, but Adara is here.
Just before Daniel starts, I want to let you guys know that Daniel himself was born and raised in a Brazilian favela. So very inspiring, the movement that he has created today. I hope we can seek some inspiration from this, and just go back to the message from this morning, that whenever we connect with speakers like Daniel, we're looking at their life stories. We're looking at the life stories of Adara and seeing what they're doing and applying it to our plan over the next 7 every other Saturday. So you have to come up with something. I hope you can come up and match the inspiration of Daniel and Adara, but we can just strive to be more like them. So I'm going to stop talking now. And Daniel, Adara, if you want to share your screen, feel free to share your screen and show us some pictures of your work. I will give you the ability to share your screen. I think, Daniel, can you please make sure and check that you are able to share your screen right now? Probably not. Can you?
Need to be a co-host.
Okay. So Daniel, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make you the host. But once you finish, can you make me the host again? All right. Thank you. You are the host now. So you're in charge of everything.
One sec, just make sure that. Hello, everyone. Thank you, Akash, once again for the kind introduction. We just have a class from our program Empodere Youth finishing now. That's the reason why we just arrived at this time in Brazil. And the International Youth Watch is pleased to be supported by Akash with the Brenda Stamper Grant for Youth Empowerment. That's the program that we just led. So I am Daniel. I'm 23 years old, and I was born and raised in a favela in Rio de Janeiro called Vila Vintém. This favela is famous for the war against drugs and violence and human rights violations. One of the questions I had to ask myself very constantly was, how can I, as a young leader, a young person from a favela, be seen, be heard, and be considered in the public policies decision-making? I had no power, no money, no visibility. I just had the chance to hear a little bit of Jerry's speech about intersectionality, considering the dynamics of race, gender, sexual orientation, and also economic level, economic class. We had no power in favelas. So how can we start to mobilize and to create new ways of being able to become a stakeholder, to stand up for our own rights? So when I was 18 years old, I decided to create my own NGO, that's the International Youth Watch, to connect young leaders from different backgrounds to get together and create platforms of empowerment. How people from different favelas across Brazil, across Rio, and across the globe would connect and share experience, good practice, and also connect with institutions of power and stakeholders. We work in 3 different levels. The first one is providing training and capacity building for young leaders from favela. The Empodere Youth is an example. We have 30 students from favela background having classes every single Saturday about economic empowerment, entrepreneurship, and financial skills and knowledge. So we are providing them this kind of support, and also a micro grant in the end, so we can make sure that they have access to internet, that they have a device to log in the classes. So we provide capacity building and training for young leaders from favelas. The second one is that we work on consulting and supporting for private and public institutions willing to address youth issues and youth policies. For example, we work with the Rio de Janeiro Law School. That's a very private and like exclusive school in Brazil that's cost like $1,000 a month. And also, but we make a lot of these courses open to favela people because we help the FGV Law School, the Rio de Janeiro Law School, to make sure that they create these democratic spaces. So we provide them the assistance and the support and the kind of perspective they don't have because of these issues of like, what are the specific challenges, the specific situations to engage young people from different backgrounds in institutions of power, like trying to reduce any kind of conflict and any kind of distancing and any kind of like misunderstood that can happen when you have people from different backgrounds in the same room. So we provide this kind of assistance for them. And the last but not least, we work with advocacy. As young people from favelas, we want to have a seat in the tables in discussions that may affect us. In general, we are working on SDG 16, that's peace, justice, and strong institutions. We're also with gender equality, access to good education. So we try to include young people from different backgrounds in the United Nations 2030 agenda. So because we do believe that we can think global, but we have to act as a local leader. And we have a high participation cost to make sure that these people from favela can engage in this United Nations agenda that's so far away from them, but they can create real impact in the ground. So how can we create connections that make sense, considering the exactly abilities and exactly the challenges we have in the field? As part working in advocacy, I had the pleasure to be part of the National Youth Council of Brazil, supporting the Brazilian president for a few years ago. Not Bolsonaro one, the one who came before. So I was one of the advisors on youth issues. I also was part of the United Nations Major Group for Children and Youth, that's based in New York. It supports the General Assembly. I was America's representative for them for a few years. And also I work as a UNESCO consulting for youth policies in Rio de Janeiro. Just to mention, in Brazil, youth is a people between a range of 15 years old to 29 years old. So between 15 to 29, and we are 43 million of people, 23% of the population. Just in Rio de Janeiro, that's my state, we have 4 million young people. We are talking about a lot of people, a lot of dreams, and a lot of perspectives. Just to give a quickly overview on the work we are doing in the International Youth Watch, I would like to share. We have a new logo now, but that's the main logo. We are all youth-led. We have some people that are consultants that are, we say that they are younger for more time than us, because in Brazil it's just very strict to 29 years old. So we are all youth-led, but we have advisors that are seniors. So they have been younger for longer than us. We work, as I just mentioned, we work close to United Nations and Rio de Janeiro Law School and a lot of universities across the globe to make sure that our voices, our reports, our perspectives are considering the public debate. As I mentioned to you, we are connected to the FGV, the Direito Rio, that's the Rio de Janeiro Law School. We have been partners of the government of Brazil and Rio de Janeiro. We have been working with the US Embassy and consulates in Brazil, the Harvard University Berkman Center, and some private companies. This is the Favela Lab program, is to include, that's a training ability, that training course, to include young people in the SDG 16, how young people from favelas, they can create a culture of peace and non-conflict. A very specific course to understand what human rights means and how can we create a better environment to human rights, denounce violations, creating solutions, and mobilize resources. We focus on entrepreneurship, leadership, social development in this course. As I mentioned, we are all focused on the Sustainable Development Goals. With this main focus, stopping the human rights violations at marginalized communities, interrupt the cycle of poverty and social exclusion, and promoting financial empowerment as a means of ensuring equality and autonomy of marginalized youth. intersectional youth. Those are facilities that we have used before to provide those trainings. And as I mentioned, we think as global citizens, but we have to act as global leaders, as local leaders, because we have so many problems in Brazil right now. I just mentioned, like, I was living in New York from last July to February this year, and I had been thousands of meetings at United Nations, World Banking. And that's amazing to have those conversations, but we cannot forget that we have no time to lose. The time we spend here, young people spending on those forums and those discussions tables, they must be focused on results, because a lot of those kids have no time to waste. In Brazil, just to mention, we have the Youth Vulnerability Index that shows that if you are a black young boy, you have 3 times more chance of being killed, of suffering homicide. So although youth people in Brazil are just 23%, we represent half of the killings in the country. We have 6,000 killings every single year in general, and 30,000 young people got murdered every single year in Brazil. So the numbers are outrageous. So we have no time to waste in many senses. So I love this kind of agenda that the OIJ, the International Youth Watch, proposed, that we do have this kind of advocacy conversations. We do want a seat on the table. But now we are at the point, if those spaces, those stakeholders do not let us in, we are creating new tables because we have no time to lose. And I would like to thank you so much, Akash, for believing the work we do in Brazil, for being one of our sponsors and supporters, and also one of the leaders we can count in. And I want to share more and more. That's just a first conversation. And I would ask Adara, if I can, just to share a little bit of Empodera. That's the course that we have, the Brent Stamper Grant for Youth Empowerment specifically. But Adara do not speak English, so she will present in Portuguese, and I'll do the translation if everything's okay, or if someone want to make a question before. I don't know. What do you think, Akash?
Daniel, sure. Let's see if anybody has questions.
I do.
Hey, Hilda.
Hi. Your logo. I'm just looking at your logo, and it's I don't know what to say, but it's amazing. I don't know if everybody saw his logo. It's like the eye, and then inside of the eye is the world. That's a perfect logo. You came up with the idea of the logo, or what was who did the logo?
Yes, I did the logo, but was not that good. Was a very was the same concept, but was a very different one. I can show you here that, because I created the OIJ when I was like 17 years old, and I had no clue how to make it happen. I'll show you. It's very funny because I don't know if we still have it. Okay, I'll show you right now.
I don't know if
Please
everybody.
have a look.
Yeah.
That's the first logo. I made it myself. Can you see it?
Yeah.
So it was that. And then we start to sell the idea to other young leaders. They had more ability than I. And so we went that way. And now we have this as the founding logo, because this is the International Youth Watch. We want to see the globe from the youth eyes. And now we have a celebration one, because we are making 5 years old this year. And we have this celebratory one. I'll just show you right now.
Nice.
That's that one. That's young people creating the vision we want. So the eye is composed by young people with the SDG colors. So it's the celebratory one.
Yeah. Great job.
What do you think? You like it?
Yes.
But we still stick on with the old blue one, because that idea that we want to create a vision. We have a vision of a world shaped by young people.
So whenever I need a logo, I will let you know. It's pretty
Please
amazing.
do. Thank you. That's so nice of you.
You're welcome.
Very creative work. And again, still, let's see if anybody else has a comment, a question, because this is your time. Gonzalo.
Okay. Hi, Darian. I'm from Argentina, and I am amazed to see how much work you have put into this organization, and how many different branches and opportunities you're bringing to youth there in the favelas. Where did you get your inspiration from?
I think I get the inspiration from the other peoples from favelas that didn't have the access or the privilege I did. I got these because I don't say that I have some kind of badge in my community. I have a social commitment. I had access to really good education. And to me, to be there, because of the capitalism system we live, because of the competition we face, since I have access to this discussion, since I have internet to be here, I have to keep in mind that thousands of people don't. So the inspiration I have with me saying like, I am because we are, because like, I wouldn't be here. I lost many of my friends to violence in favelas. I have to bury many friends of mine in favelas. So the inspiration I get is from them. Because as I just mentioned, these young people from favela, these black people from favela, they are not others. They are my people. They are people that I grew up with. If they are being murdered in Brazil, it's 23 minutes. Every 23 minutes, we have a killing of a young people. So I get inspirations from them. Since I had access, since I could learn English from the internet, maybe broken English, it doesn't matter because like I had access and some privilege that I have to share. So it's a process that I try to open spaces. If I'm connected to an institution, I'm trying to open space for more people. And my inspiration was that, like, how can I be heard and seen as only one person would be impossible. So I create a network of young people around me and with me. So we could be more stronger, more like able to have a seat on the table. So I don't think it was my bright mind or anything like that. I think it was like a sense of commitment to my community and understanding if I have the chance to go to Columbia or to go to FGV Law School in Brazil, it means that a lot of people didn't have that chance because of the system we live in. So it was a very collaborative vision and a very collaborative work. Did I answer your question? Or was that?
And that's what I have.
Thank you.
You know, lots in common with the Black Lives Matter movement in the United States. I think America is facing something similar to what Brazil is facing, maybe not at such a huge magnitude, which you said every 24 minutes, a member of the youth community is being killed to violence. So that's just, I don't know, I cannot imagine what that is and the tragedy of that on families. But I had a question because I know you kind of giggled and laughed when you said that you served on the National Youth Council for the former president and not for Bolsonaro, because I know lots of people do not like President Bolsonaro of Brazil. I just had a question. What is Bolsonaro doing right now to support the youth or to help mitigate the number of homicides and deaths in your country of youth? So what is the current president doing, if anything?
That's a very good and sensitive question, Akash. Because all these youth policies, I had the pleasure to be one of the National Youth Councilors that I just mentioned. And I had this elected mandate. So we are 40 councilors across the country, each one of us representing more than 1 million young people. So it's a huge responsibility. And we are directly connected to the president of the Brazil Republic. And I saw a lot of amazing work. I had the chance to go to Portugal. I had the chance as a Brazilian representative to the Portuguese speaking community meeting. I had the chance to go to the BRICS meeting. I went to London to youth meetings. So I traveled the globe representing Brazil youth policies. And everything's being destroyed right now. Everything's being like, not like desmoronando, I don't know, like being literally destroyed. Like they are changing the kind of network we have, even the kind of even how we elect the youth representatives, the kind of topics we can address. I can show you, for example, a good example is during the pandemic, young people became really vulnerable because of the kind of jobs we have, the kind of access to education we have in favelas, we don't have any kind of public policies to mitigate the COVID-19 impacts, for example, focus on young people. They didn't provide any kind of, in the federal level, any kind of support to access education online, or for example, to provide training online to young people that cannot go to school because the school is not digitally connected. So young people from a rich background or a privileged background, they are still having classes. They're still doing Zooms, doing tutoring online. But the major groups of people from favelas, intersectional groups, they have no access. And the governments provide no response to them. So we are seeing a wave of unemployment coming against young people in Brazil. And also people who are going to leave the formal education system. The maintenance in the public school system is going to be really hard next year. So, but you have no policy to address that. So as a youth activist, we are having a lot of discussions and create programs because the government decided to do anything about it.
That's a tragedy, and I can totally understand because we read about Bolsonaro in the international news. So, well, Daniel, I know Adara has still to speak, but before Adara speaks, I want to see if any of our other ambassadors here have any questions for Daniel or comments. Yes, Jerry.
I have a question. Personally, myself, I have honestly struggled with accountability as a leader in the projects that I do partake in. What do you feel, aside from obviously your real life experiences that you're going through, what else do you feel like, or what habits have you had that kind of hold you accountable to what you guys are doing? Because it's funny, you laugh that someone said that this is what the youth has worked on, but honestly, you're 23 years old. Like, the work that you're doing is intense for the age where you're at right now. I'm 23 years old too, but I'm not at that level of impact in my community, right? But what would you say that you do to hold yourself accountable to where you're at and to continue the work that you're doing and, you know, look forward?
Thank you for your question, Jerry. Just to understand you better, what you say by accountable in that sense, like to keep yourself motivated, or sorry.
I would say motivated, probably motivated, and just to potentially, you know, like you're not just sitting here and thinking about today, right? You're not just sitting here and thinking about what's going on right now. You're also thinking about what you're going to do to continue for tomorrow or see what's going on in the future for your future projects, but what you motivate yourself with, essentially.
Okay, yes, because we're just talking about government. And for example, as a youth counselor, we have to be accountable, but talking about compliance and about law. So just make sure it was the right question. So thank you so much, Jerry. So I think one of the most important things that I keep to myself is to check my privilege in many levels, to understand what space of power I am occupying, what are my role on those spaces, and how can I create opportunity to other young people. Because sometimes we start to be wondering like, oh my God, I'm facing so many problems and so many situations. I can't do anything right now. I had to wait for more 10 years to make my first million, then I can open my NGO. It will never happen. Because we have privilege right now that we can start to share and think about strategies. So for example, if I have the chance to be with Akash, I'll try to join this webinar and share more knowledge with you. And if I have the chance to get a micro grant, I will try to create a course to impact more 30 people. Sometimes it's not, you know, it will be not that easy, but we have to keep that in mind. Like, how can I share my knowledge? How can I share my small portion of power? Because we can go bigger if we are together. For example, I just mentioned to you, I have to navigate a lot of spaces because of my age and also because of my kind of experience, and to make sure that I am financially stable. Since I have an NGO, I cannot take, I'm the president, so I cannot take any salary from the NGO. So I have to have another work so I can get paid for this work and to do my volunteer at the International Youth Watch, just to make sure, like, just to make clear that how they would be work in Brazil. So I have to work in a full-time position to get my salary, but also to be creating these and OIJ projects. So how can I navigate that? It's impossible to do alone. So I have Adara with me. I have Beatriz with me. I have a lot of other young people that share my vision. It needs to be a collaborative work. So how can we create a space of empowerment, but how can we have more people work with us? And I think that just to make sure that we are also in the same page about the age and stuff, we have a lot of impact by being who you are. By being Daniel and being here, talking to you in English. I don't know if English is your first language, Jerry. I know that's for some of you are not. There is a lot of power in that. So our first impact must be from our own journey and pathway. It has to be quite clear that we are very powerful people and role models and wanna be for a lot of young people that would are really looking forward to be here one day, be one of these ambassadors. So it needs to be clear because like we cannot change the world in the way we would. The world was here before us, and we have just a small part-time here in this globe. So we have to make sure that we have a very limited impact. It's not about changing the whole world. It's about making it a little better. So because we go crazy, like, oh, Daniel is 23 years old, he's a youth counselor, he went to Columbia, but Malala won a Nobel Prize, but Greta won like a nomination. We can go crazy, right? Like, oh, I could do more, and oh my God. So we have to be very, very, very honest with ourselves, saying like, I'm doing the best I can with the resources I have available. And that's really amazing. So we have to keep that in mind, that our pathway, our journey is very inspiring and very powerful. There is a lot of change by being who you are and standing up in this crazy world. So I try to make myself accountable in that way. So creating space, getting connected with people, and remember myself every single day that I cannot change the whole world, but I can make it a little better. So how can I make this world a little better just for the next month or the next year? So what? Otherwise, I would go crazy. I don't know if I replied to your question, Jerry.
Most definitely. I appreciate the response. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Definitely very inspiring. And anybody else want? Well, let's take one more question. I
think
Sunil Adara speak. So, and Sunil put in the chat. So Melody will come back to you, but after Adara speaks. Does that sound good? Okay, Sunil, you have a question?
Yes, I have a question. Thank you, Akash. Hi, Daniel. I'm Sunil from Nepal. So I have been into social activism for more than 7 years. I'm 25 by age right now, and I have been with Akash for like the past 4 years. Besides, I also run a local NGO in Nepal and been engaged in climate activism for certain years right now. So my question is like, we share very similar context about how it's going in Brazil and how it's in Nepal. Just the different scenario is like the crime rates are completely very, very, very low compared to Brazil. But as far as I experienced, my country just got rehabilitated from the civil war, and it's been 15 years since the civil war ended in Nepal, and the political scenario is completely unstable. And the direct impact of the internet revolution and the IT development in Nepal has turned so much things around that within this 15 to 20 years, everything has so much changed that the proverb that we all heard growing, a little knowledge is dangerous thing, that has kept on, that has been going in the mindset among the people in Nepal. And not just people, I would just point it out amongst the youths. So I know you've been working very hard, rigorously on this field only. What I wanted to ask you was, how has been your experience? Because I know, I somehow believe it's the similar case there in Brazil as well, because the technological development and the development in IT industry is equivalent across the globe. So how much has it affected you? and then how much the little knowledge is dangerous thing has affected in your working, because yeah, after all, at the end, it's not easy, and it's all our effort that determines everything. But sometimes we meet overdriven people, and sometimes we meet not driven people, and the toughest task is to balance the gap in between them. So I want to just hear your experience, and I really appreciate what you are doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Sunil, for your question. Just make sure if I got, it's raining a lot in Rio right now. It's being noisy. Just, you're talking about the digital inclusion and the impact of internet in the work we are doing in Brazil? Yes.
Yes, yes.
So we do share in some aspects some features of the same background in Brazil, the high rate of violence, the corruption in the government, and the exclusion of marginalized people as young people in general, and aspects of race, gender, and economic class can play a major role in who is going to receive the support from the government. And it also shows online. Okay, we have Brazil is going faster in the digital inclusion in many senses. For example, in the favelas of Rio de Janeiro, we have 90%, like almost 100% of the youth online. But the question we have to pose right now is what kind of device they have and what kind of internet access they do have. Because it's not, for example, I'm connected by a notebook and have like amazing network, like we call it Brazil Banda Larga, and I can be watching all of you, I can be in a Zoom meeting. But if I just have a cell phone, what kind of access can I really have? It's just have mobile data. So the kind of digital inclusion can be really tricky about, it's not enough to be online. One of the major questions that has to be how really connected you are, what kind of access you have, and also thinking about the social change and the youth movement. Are you still safe to share and to denounce human rights violations on your network? Can we create mobilized solutions? I interviewed some young people from a program led by Harvard University called Conectados ao Sur. That's a network of digital rights across Latin America. And I interviewed refugees in Rio de Janeiro favelas. I interviewed LGBTQ activists and Black activists in Brazil. For example, when we talk about refugees in favelas, they do not denounce violations online because the socialization process in some kind of dictatorships and also the kind of experience they had in the countries that they left, they don't trust the internet. They don't trust that they're going to be protected by their freedom of speech, for example. So they face retaliations if they use the internet, for example, to mobilize against human rights violations. And a lot of them, they use fake profiles. And I've interviewed a lot of refugees in Brazil and Rio that use fake profiles just to make sure that they are not even tracked. And they said like, oh, but in Brazil, the situation is quite better. They said that, no. If you have like some kind of processes before the Brazilian government, they can track you down, they can check you if you're joining protests and strikes, and they can affect your immigration or asylum process. Talking about Black people is the same. We are going like raising the kind of pages and websites and organizations that are use the internet to denounce violations, but they are still very afraid of the kind of retaliations they can face. Because internet, we can face a lot of problems we have in the real world. We are talking about hate speech, harm speech, and social bubbles. So it can be really hard to use the internet as an empowerment tool in Brazil to overcome the challenge we have if we don't start to include digital literacy at public schools, and if we don't have a major agenda of public policies to promote real inclusion about the quality of the network we can enjoy and also the quality of the devices we can enjoy. But now I'm seeing a lot of, it's getting better, but we still have a lot of challenges without this kind of public policy and without this effort to provide digital literacy for the population in general and to make sure that we have digital rights. But it's hard. We don't have the offline rights. We don't have human rights in favelas. So how can we make sure that the internet, we can have digital rights? So it's a kind of discussion that's very important right now. We are trying to do it. We had a class. I was a professor at the law school of Rio in the course called Digital Activism and Youth for Peace and Justice. I have some material I can share with you guys later by Akash, I guess, with young people that we had 22 students from 11 from FGV, the law school, and 11 from favelas, just to focus on digital activism. So how people could mobilize solutions online. And it was really good. It's just a step forward on that kind of discussion. I hope I replied correctly your questions, Sunil.
Absolutely. I think, Sunil, what your thoughts?
Daniel, I was more trying to understand what the current scenario about the educated and the people who are friendly over gadgets. You know, like often in the context of our country, like people whoever are using internet are not completely educated or like not even enlightened, or like you can just even say not even literate, but they are using the gadgets, and like these things have completely different types of impacts over the user community. And my concern was your my concern was how your organization or your team are taking this seriously, because I know, as far as I have known Brazil, I may be mistaken, the literacy rate in Brazil is also being affected in this youth community. I'm sorry if I'm failing to explain, or I got it completely way out of it.
Daniel, I think that's another common problem even in the United States in terms of digital literacy, with fake news, all of what we have right now in the United States, that you may have a device, you may have access to the internet, you may be literate from college, but you're subscribing to fake news. But also he's trying to talk to you about the literacy within the youth, that despite technological advances, has the youth literacy rate improved? And I know you addressed equity issues in terms of, hey, folks in favelas don't have access to quality internet, or maybe access to a device to be able to get educated. So has literacy improved with technological strides?
Not necessarily, because as I just mentioned, they are not connected, not connecting that level that can have, for example, during the pandemic, people from favela do not have classes at all. So, for example, we're going to have a huge gap between people with access to internet, quality internet and quality devices, because they're having classes online. And those people from favela, they are out of school since March, and now it's August, it's almost September. So we're talking about people who had no class for a lot of months. And depending on the age, you know quite better than I, Akash, depending on the age of the students, it can be a deeply effect on the kind of student he can be, the kind of knowledge he can absorb. And just to reply your question, we are trying to provide more training in the specific topics, Sunil. We don't have a focus on specific in literacy right now. But for example, we do have a focus on economic empowerment and human rights protection right now. But we have amazing programs in Brazil that OIJ is being connected to, that we say like extra tutoring to access university, but it's not one of our main focus right now. For example, providing some kind of extracurricular activities or tutoring online. But we have this focus on internet, how people can use internet quite better to have more access. And that's the course we just gave, was about digital activism. So the literacy is not improving because of the internet right now, because it depends on how you use the internet. It's not being used to access educational backgrounds.
Likewise in other countries and contexts. So right here, I just want to remind our group of incredible change agents that every other Saturday when we meet, and you get to meet speakers like Danielle and Adhara, you're required over the next 2 weeks that we don't meet to just write a reflection about what you learned or what you experienced or what questions you may have. You can share that reflection with us via email, via Google Drive. So please be thinking about the reflection from this experience about how they're empowering the youth in Brazilian favelas. So right here, I think, Daniel, this would be a great time for Adara to speak, and so you can interpret for her, because we want to honor your time and make sure we finish in time too. So Adara, it's all you and Daniel.
Olá, Adara. Só pedir para você se apresentar e aí você para, eu traduzo e aí você fala um pouco do Empodera. Funciona?
Funciona assim. Bom dia, o meu nome é Adara Sanches, eu sou uma jovem de 23 anos, formanda em psicologia. Durante a minha trajetória, já havia trabalhado com outros projetos sociais, projetos de atendimento a populações mais vulneráveis, projetos de base. Atualmente, estou trabalhando com a equipe do OIJ na administração do projeto que é o Empodera Youth, né? E consiste em uma capacitação, né? Uma estratégia de capacitação, um compromisso de compartilhar com esses jovens periféricos das favelas do Rio de Janeiro um pouco de conhecimento sobre educação financeira, empreendedorismo, mercado de trabalho e, através dessa capacitação, fortalecê-los para como uma estratégia de enfrentamento às consequências intensificadas pela pandemia de Covid-19. Então, é um grande prazer estar participando desse projeto, né? E hoje em dia eu faço parte da equipe do OIJ construindo o Empodera.
So just translating the data points, I think some of you are Spanish speakers, so you can connect to some of. Adara is a 23 years old young leader from also a favela in Rio de Janeiro, and she mentioned that she's a psychology student right now, and she's been working with social projects for a few years, and now she has the pleasure to join the International Youth Watch as one of the project directors on the Empodera Youth Program. The Empodera Youth Program is an initiative to mitigate the COVID-19 impacts on the economic and financial situations of young people from favelas. And it provides abilities and digital and skills on entrepreneurship, financial education, and planning. And she's, if I'm not mistaken, missed some parts, but she's very pleased to be here with you guys. And that's pretty much that. Just to remember, that's my personal touch. The Empodera Youth received the Brento Stampa grant for youth empowerment provided from also from support for the World Health Foundation.
Yeah.
So right here, Adara, I'm not sure, Daniel, does she have anything else that she wants to share? Because I don't want to interrupt her if she still has something else to say, or we can open it up to questions and both of you can respond to them.
Adara, só uma pergunta, tem mais algum ponto que você queira compartilhar sobre o Empodera, sobre sua trajetória?
Gostaria de compartilhar o quanto é inspirador poder estar construindo esses espaços. Acredito que esses vão ser um principal motor de promoção de mudança. Poder estar construindo esse acesso, essa rede de comunicação com outros jovens líderes, aqui como a gente pode estar compartilhando nesse espaço, nessa reunião, nesse momento. E agradecer o ECASH, né, pela oportunidade de estar conhecendo outras personalidades que possam estar compartilhando conosco essas informações e aprendizados, porque são elas que vão realmente nos fortalecer enquanto jovens que pretendem compartilhar mudanças e empoderar outros jovens, né? Em busca de uma sociedade mais justa, igualitária e de um futuro diferente.
She just mentioned how pleased she is to be connected with this kind of network. And she does believe that the Empodera Youth and this kind of program we are having here can be the driving force to social change that she really wants to implement in Brazil and across the globe. And she thanks Akash personally for the chance of being here, connect to young leaders from across the globe, because she thinks that the kind of connection we're creating here, the kind of spaces we're creating here, are going to be responsible for the social change we all want.
Adara, thank you so much. And I really think that as a class, as an institute, we all can think about brainstorm ideas how we can continue to support the work that Daniel, Adara, and the other young people in favelas do. So just recently, we dedicated a grant in the memory of a young man who died to a helicopter crash. Like my twin brother also died to a plane crash 2 years ago, but last year a young man died to a helicopter crash. So we dedicated a mini grant to the International Youth Watch, but I hope we can continue to be able to support not just financially, but also in other ways to see how through networking or other platforms we can help them. So right now, I don't want to talk because I've spoken enough. I want you guys to be able to ask questions, any final questions before we say goodbye to Daniel and Adara, and then we all will meet back again for just a couple minutes. Today we might be late, we might not get out right at 11 o'clock, but please bear with us because this is just our first day, okay? So any questions? I know Melody had one. Melody? Melody, you're still muted. Yes,
Okay.
now.
Is that better? I wanted to know how, Daniel, how did he get his support in the beginning?
That's a really good question. That's a really good question. In many senses, I just didn't. I just had to mobilize. Just had to mobilize and to create things with just young people in general. For example, one of the trainings we provided on the beginning, we had to just to ask for auditorium and that we could share the cost of the coffee break among the young leaders that were trying to create this kind of course as the Empodera Youth course. Empodera used to be a one-day-long workshop. Because of the pandemic now, it's been weekly meetings. But in the beginning, we didn't have any kind of support from the organization, so we had to do it beforehand. So we could prove then that we could do more if we did get support. So we just started small. And since we had the proof that we could do it, because as I mentioned, we were 17 years old trying to change the world. And I clearly remember that the first OIJ meeting was an Empodera course to 100 kids from my public school. And we just shared the cost of the coffee break. I paid the cost of the coffee break. I was a youth researcher getting like $10,000. In Brazil was a good amount of money, but it was like $10 a month, not 20, like $20 a month as a researcher. And I took this money and I made this event. It was the first Empodera at the public school. And it was amazing. All the kids love it. It was close to my favela. And then we have the photos, we have the speakers. I asked the speakers to go. We had a representative from the United Nations. He never went to a favela before. And he was a UNDP, he was amazing. He was a UNDP global advisor here in Brazil. And he went all the way. That was like very expensive taxi, but he paid everything for his own travel. But we had to do beforehand because young people, we don't have all the credit we deserve in general. So beforehand, I had to prove it that we could do it. And after that, I just find out some kind of institutions that would be willing to work with youth programs. For example, universities in general, and also foundations. And I approached them saying like, oh, we can do that. And we want to do more. So if I get this kind of support, I can do bigger stuff. So yes, because as a young people from favelas, all this marginalized background, they won't provide any kind of support beforehand, unfortunately. So I did it so I could prove to the sponsors, I could find the sponsors and show real results for them. Did I reply your question, Melodist?
Yes. So first you went to like schools and organizations.
Yes, first I did in my own school. Because I had access to the director. I said, like, I want to do a crazy meeting here with a bunch of young people to talk about social change at the global level. And I was going to invite some people from United Nations, some foundations, to talk to those kids. And they allowed me to do so because they knew me. So I started with my own group, my own community, my own friends, my own colleagues. So we did this amazing event. After I had that, I had the grant. I went to other universities and other institutions say, oh, I did it in my community. So we can do more. We can do across your university. So after that, we went to the Rio de Janeiro Law School and we start doing these events on the Rio de Janeiro Law School with all the funding from coffee break, transportation, for support for the speakers, consulates, because I proved then that we could do it in a smaller version. So after that, I looked for schools that didn't know me, bigger than my school. So it was like a kind of growing process, a very strategic one.
And I know I did not mean to interrupt your conversation. I just brought this image up of their Facebook page, and they're right there. You can see the Instagram page. So please feel free to follow them. Continue the conversation. I'll also leave you Daniel's email address so you can reach out to him if you have any questions. We have time for one more question, just one question. So again, this is their Facebook page. That's their Instagram. It's OIJ.BR, which is for Brazil. So Organización, I think, no, sorry, not Organización, Observatorio Internacional da Juventude. I mean, I can't say it in Portuguese.
It's very similar, yes. Observatório Internacional da Juventude.
De Juventude. I'm learning Portuguese, but I don't know if I'll butcher it in front of people who speak it very well. So, muito obrigado to both of you for your time today, and we really appreciate it. One final question, thought, comment from anybody, because I want to honor their time, everybody's time. Anybody else? The question can be in Spanish, please. Anybody, any of our Spanish speakers, if they want to ask a question, or just, if you don't want to ask a question, how about you give them a vote of thanks? Like, you can just say thank you to them for what you just experienced. So I want one of our really brave change agents to go ahead and deliver that.
I think Marty has a question, I guess.
Marty.
No, solamente para agradecerle a Daniel por para compartir su programa con nosotros. Es muy interesante. He sabido por muchos años y que las favelas es muy difícil la vida allá. He sabido y he tenido personas que he conocido que han vivido. Y gracias por esa oportunidad que le están dando a la juventud, que es la que es nuestro futuro. Y solamente para decirte gracias por compartir con nosotros, y tu labor que estás haciendo es muy bella.
So Marty just thanked Daniel and Adara for their time, for sharing their story, because she has heard and read of the favelas of Brazil. She knows people who have gone through the hardships of living in the favelas, and hearing Daniel and Adara's story was heartwarming for her, and she thinks that it's a very beautiful work and inspiring work that they both are leading. So Daniel, Adara, we wish you the very best, and just even more prosperity in your programs at your nonprofit. And we'll be in touch how we can continue to support your work and your movement of young leaders, because you guys are doing some very commendable work. So thank you for your time today. So let's everybody just clap for them in whatever form you can for these two, because we really appreciate them. Daniel, Adara, thank you so much. We appreciate you guys. Okay, you have
Thank you, Akash.
Today.
Thank you. As we just mentioned, is here the Alba Networks, Daniel Clarko. Please feel free to join. And I just share here a quick article about the favela situation right now and the COVID's impact on the youth civil society. So you have the time to read after. I would love to hear comments on that. So thank you so much, Akash. Thank you, all of you. I'm feeling very inspired to keep leading the change here in Brazil.
Goodbye.
Thank you.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, so that was just a glimpse. I wanted to bring in not somebody at the top of the UN officials, but a young person who came out of a very difficult situation and was ended up appointed on the National Council of Brazil, ended up appointed as a youth representative to the United Nations, to UNICEF, to other organizations. So I wanted you to seek inspiration from somebody who was ordinary. And that's the whole purpose of our institute, that you don't have to be a millionaire or rich or whatever, have access to things to be able to make a difference in someone's life. So I hope you were inspired by this. We are just joined by Amy Anderton, our Director of Operations, who is now our incoming new, I was about to introduce you correctly, who's now our incoming President of the Board of Directors. So Amy, I know you have something to share with everybody before we close for today.
Thanks, Akash. I just wanted to welcome everyone for coming today and apologize for being late myself. I just lost a cousin overnight and was kind of dealing with that this morning. A lot of health issues going on in the family right now. But I see countries represented here from Asia. Hi, Sunil, haven't talked to you in a while. And South America, Gonzalo, how are you doing? And Africa is here, and North America. We've got the whole world is right here on this one screen. And we talk about changing the world, but we're only one person. But we already represent so many continents and so much of the world right here on this little screen. And if we can make this much of a difference, that difference can make other differences. And I really applaud all of you, every single one of you, for applying to this and congratulate you for being accepted. I just want to welcome everyone, encourage you to this. The world's problems are, because you are not going to solve them, but we are. We as a whole world can work together. So thank you all. Just fight the good fight. Stay with it. We're here to help you and support you. And huge congratulations to every one of you for being accepted in this program. Akash.
All right, thank you, Amy. Thank you. That was very uplifting for all of our participants, and I hope they were inspired by this message that we want you to change the world, however small it may be. Just like Daniel said, hey, we can make it better by a day, by a little bit. That's still a difference that we have made. So thank you so much for today, for joining us today. It's right at 11 o'clock. I know there's still 4 or 5 people who have not been introduced. So I don't know if you guys can still stay on for another 10 minutes so we can finish their introductions. Or Hilda, Amy, what do you suggest that maybe we could push their introductions to 2 Saturdays from today, when they can begin by introducing themselves?
Well, aren't they going to be working together? I mean, shouldn't they kind of know each other first? If you guys don't mind an extra 10 minutes?
10 minutes. 10 minutes will be done. And during the 10 minutes, let me just remind you, we're not expecting too much from you. 7 Saturdays, which is every other Saturday, the same link. All we want, like Hilda, Amy, and I, from you guys over the next 2 weeks is write a reflection. Send it to us on any social media platform, on email, on Facebook, anywhere. But tell us, what did you learn from this guy from the favelas? Or if you didn't learn anything, tell us, what questions do you have? Or what do you plan to do with them? And then 2 weeks from today, when we meet, we will randomly assign your groups. So you will find out who you're working with in this group. So let's go back to who we left with. So here on the screen, I see Renita introduced herself. Juan Pablo did. Otto.
Yes, perfect. I won't take too long. Hi, I'm Otto. I'm from Norman, Oklahoma. I just graduated from OU with a degree in health science / pre-med. And I'm just excited to be able to pick everybody's brain and just get to learn from people that have succeeded in life and have done more than I have. So yeah, I'm just appreciative and blessed and happy to be here with you guys.
We are very happy to have you too, Otto, because you too have made quite a bit of a difference, because Otto has helped us with our programs at the Happy Wolf Foundation, where he connects with children from different countries and teaches them about his culture, because he's Guatemalan American, even though he wasn't born in Guatemala, but he still has quite a bit of knowledge of Guatemala, and he has studied abroad, right, Otto? You've studied abroad, you have traveled abroad, you've volunteered abroad. I see just such incredible work coming out of this group. So I'm very thrilled that you guys are a part of this, and very, very proud of this, because I can just sense it today from the energy in this room that you guys are going to be doing such incredible work. So Otto, thank you for introducing yourself. Let's see who has not. I'm trying to see total non-video participants. Let me see who's the non-video participants. Gustavo already introduced himself. Shreya.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, Shreya.
Okay, good. It wasn't working earlier, so. Hi, I'm Shreya, and I'm a high schooler from Austin, Texas. I love traveling as well as medicine, which I hope to pursue in the future. And I volunteered for many health-related organizations this year. Currently, I've been volunteering to help seniors in low-income clinics gain access to telehealth. And I'm also part of my school's chapter of the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. And my goal is to eventually be able to travel to different nations and help solve health disparities caused by socioeconomic factors. But until then, I've also been focusing on problems that are specific to my hometown in Austin, Texas. Recently, me as well as a few other friends have gotten our idea to help minimize the effects of Austin's horrible homelessness crisis approved legally as a nonprofit organization. So I'm looking really forward to that, as well as working here and learning from everybody.
And you could certainly talk to Daniel about health disparities in the favelas. Sorry, here, let me go ahead and. Okay, you can certainly talk to Daniel, Shreya, about health disparities in the favelas. You can talk to Gustavo. He can talk to you a lot about health disparities. He's a medical doctor from Peru who has served in remote parts of Peru. So, Gustavo, if you're still on, Shreya is somebody that you could certainly connect with. And Shreya, by the way, just quickly, I'll tell you, I met Shreya 4 or 5 years ago. Is that right? You were a lot younger. I met her and her mom in the Chitwan National Park in Nepal, where I take high school and college students every 2-3 years to work with elephants. Is that right, Shreya? We met in Sauraha.
Yeah, I believe that's right.
Yes, it's in Nepal. So she's Nepalese American. She was born in the United States, but her mom is from Nepal. And Shreya and I, we met right there, where I was spending a summer working with elephants and making elephant poo-poo paper, where you make paper from elephant dung or elephant poo-poo. So I thought it was just the funniest thing ever. And it was so cool to be able to share just a couple minutes with Shreya and her family, and then we ended up becoming friends. And now over the years, look at the lady and the leader that she has turned into. And I'm just very excited about your future, Shreya, and very happy that you're part of this.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for the efforts that you put into reviewing our website. I appreciate that too. We'll be working on the recommendations as a group. Now let's see, who have we not introduced so far? Sunil already somewhat introduced himself but Sunil, I'm still going to give you another minute so you can talk to them. Sunil led our Global Ambassadors Leadership Institute in Nepal. So some of the most impressive work that came out of Sunil, they had a project where, they called them the Peace Pad Project, where they came up with this innovative way of pads for women, because it's something that's not spoken about, because it's very frowned upon. It's like something that Asian women in Asian high schools, it's something really that people don't often talk about, like menstrual health. So for Sunil's ambassadors that worked from dowry is a real thing, and women dying because their in-laws killed them because they couldn't pay their in-laws money. So they came up with some of the most incredible projects that we featured on UN Academic Impact at our Global Citizen Awards Gala. So Sunil, I really salute your leadership in bringing together some of the most incredible SDG ambassadors from Nepal. So Sunil, you want to go ahead and tell everybody a little bit about what you do?
Yeah, thank you, Akash. Hi everyone, it's me Sunil again from Nepal. So it's been 4 years since I got connected and I've been part of Happy World Foundation. I was inaugural batch of in the Global Ambassador Leadership Institute, and actually the first batch where I graduated myself, and it was my starting days in leadership in social activism, and I thought I really did well and under Akash leadership. Then I started a Leadership Academy Global Ambassador Leadership Institute in Nepal itself, and managed to graduate 12 graduates. And these 12 graduates did really fine. Some of the projects were recognized at national level, and some of the leaders were just not even 20 established themselves in national presence and won a lot of things. The majorly, I'll have to mention some projects like what Akash talked about, the menstrual hygiene. The guy who was leading the project has been honored with Youth Motivational over like a third province number 4 that was awarded from the government only. The other girl, Prasansha, who spent a month in the Western from Midwest, very remote place in Nepal, for the taboo that lives within the Nepalese community that is called kidnap marriages, where the girls are kidnapped and dragged by men, and then they are forcefully get married. So another very risky, it was a very risky project, and it was a very brave act of her that she finally gave her inputs to transform a community. And right after that project, what happened was Nepal government officially declared the location as a kidnap marriage free zone, and installed a Nepal police chamber over there. So those were some of the major tasks, and dowry it was there. And there were some other projects related to health, hygiene, and almost it was tremendous success in we managed to graduate them. So
I mean, that's
overall,
impressive.
Global
Think
Ambassador,
about it. Sunil just mentioned
yes,
that a lady who was a part of this institute, she took kidnap marriage. I had never heard of that. They kidnap young women and they sell them off to be married to folks forcefully. So the lady who worked on that project, she could get the government of her country to declare a kidnap marriage free zone. So something that started over 7 Saturdays, she accomplished something so amazing that I was blown away by the projects that the people in Nepal created. And it is all tribute to Sunil and his leadership, because without Sunil, these young people would not have had the platform to accomplish those things. Because
and the other thing was, and another thing I have to mention about the girl was she won the Global Teen Hero Award from entire nation. Like there were more than 7,000 applicants, and she was the one to win it because her project was so influential, and she has been doing really great, really great. That's it. So from my side, been doing this stuff since like 18 years old. I love this being into this social activism. So I graduated as a civil engineer 2 years ago. Been into local social clubs and some NGOs involvement, but since last year I started working for climate justice. I was part of World Bank for this research program in climate change in Nepal, how Nepal is directly being affected with the change of the climate, and Nepal also becomes second most highly affected ecosystem. So I've been working in this, and a part of my civil engineering graduation is wiped away because I really into nature and protection. So that's it from my side. Thank you all.
Thank you, Sunil. Thank you so much for that inspirational. Really, you deserve hats off for all the work that you were able to accomplish in 6 months. I mean, so impressive. I was just blown away by the work they did in Nepal. So I hope we can create that kind of impact in this institute this year in the fall. So I'm going to leave you with that. Please work on your reflection and turn in that reflection. Amy, you have an announcement, and Hilda, if you either of you have an announcement.
I just want to leave you with a short little story about making a difference. An old man walking along the beach came upon a child sifting through the debris left by the night's tide. Every so often, he would pick up a starfish and toss it back into the sea. The old man asked him for the purpose of his efforts. The tide has washed the starfish onto the beach. They will die unless I throw them back. The old man looked around at the miles and miles of beach. There are more starfish than you can ever save. You cannot make a difference. The child bent down to pick up another starfish and sent it back to the ocean. He looked up at the old man, smiled, and replied, I can make a difference to this one. So you can make a difference to one, and that makes a huge difference overall.
Overall, beautiful story. Thank you, Amy, for sharing that story. Very inspiring. So now we are going to be staying on for folks who need to leave. We're going to be staying on as a team for a few minutes, but you guys are free to start dispersing. We will meet back again in 2 weeks. I will let you know who our speakers will be ahead of time so you can research them. You can find out more about them. If you have any questions, stay on here with our team if you have any questions to answer. But other than that, you're free to leave. All you have to do is a small reflection for 2 weeks. So that's all you've got to work on in 2 weeks. And then when we meet, you will meet your team members. So thank you so much. I was so inspired this morning by all of you. Thank you. And others can stay on if you have questions, comments, and then you can keep leaving and dispersing as you wish.
Congratulations, everyone. Bye.
Oh, Marty está manejando ya.
Es que tengo una cita de corte y necesito enseñar una clase de baile.
No, claro, no te preocupes y cuidado, por favor.
No, sí, lo tengo así como holding, ¿sí?
Ok. Espero que te gustó la reunión hoy.
Súper chévere, me encantó. Tengo muchas cosas que aprender, por supuesto. Agradezco, yo me siento a veces que, wow, no sé absolutamente nada. Y alguien dijo más temprano que era el mayor, pero yo como que soy la mayor, creo.
Ajá.
Pero, como te he dicho, nunca es tarde para aprender cosas nuevas.
Ajá.
So,
Awesome. Jonathan, thank you. And Gustavo, are you still on? Gracias, Marty. Y cuidado, por favor.
Yes, I'm here. I have been listening all the speech from everyone.
What did you think? Are you excited to be here?
I'm very inspired by the history of Daniel. He's so young. He's so young. He has a rich like many
story,
many things that many of us would like to achieve. So that's very impressive. And as your co-fellow, I don't know, like she says, we can make we can make even a little change for every person, for anyone, and this would be like a great change for this person. It's not exactly, yeah, we can do many things.
And Amy,
Yeah,
so to give you background, Amy, Sunil and Hilda, Gustavo is a doctor. He's a medical doctor in Peru, a young medical doctor in Peru who just finished his rural internship, because the doctors are required to serve for a year in rural, remote parts of Peru. So he himself, I think, is a medical hero, because working in those zones is not easy. And he just finished that, and now he is back in the city. So Gustavo, we're going to be talking more with you over the weeks and days to come. Please let me know if you have any questions on WhatsApp, okay?
Okay, yes, sure.
Take care, Gustavo.
Thank you very much. Bye. Bye to everyone.
Jima, and then Sunil, we'll come to you in just a minute, okay? Jima? No, tiene que activar su micrófono, Jima.
¿Ya me escuchan?
Sí.
De veras que tengo que mucho aprender, como dice Marty. I had to learn a lot, but I'm really glad to be here because I want to learn. This is the most important. Quiero aprender y de veras que son cosas que nos van a inspirar a ser mejores. Y estamos aquí para aprender, para ser mejores.
Exactly. We're here to become better humans, better than what we were yesterday, right?
A mi edad, estoy aprendiendo. Como dicen, nunca es tarde. Nunca es tarde. Cada día aprendemos cada cosa nueva. Every day we learn something new.
And learning never stops. And that's why we have
never stop.
You see?
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Hilda, Amy, all of us are learning.
Yeah.
So, Jima, thank you so much for spending your 2 hours this morning with us. I hope you were inspired, and we will see you in 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks. Thank you.
So now just Sunil, Hilda, Amy, if you had any thoughts. I was telling Sunil, I just invited him this morning because of this whole pandemic. Sunil and I have not had an opportunity to talk. So I was going to have more people from Nepal participate in this institute, but because we have not spoken for a while, Sunil, what do you think? The time is still not bad. What do you think, Amy? Can we still accept people from Nepal to be part of this over the next 6 Saturdays that are left? And we'll send them a recording of this.
Forget it. No people from Nepal. No.
But we can record, we can send them a recording from this video for anybody who wants to attend. Sunil, what do you think? Because this year you're not going to be able to host an institute in Nepal for el coronavirus.
Yeah. Okay.
But
so what my thought was, hi Hilda, how are you doing? Hi Amy. So what I was thinking was the global ambassadors and how it is doing in US and global ambassador how it is doing in Nepal is completely different, but the leadership both the people are gaining is quite the same. But the modality that we brought in Nepal was completely influential, and I don't want to say that what we are doing in US is like completely different from the